Welcome, friends. I'm here to paint. Been a really lousy day here in Ohio. We've had sleet all day long, probably an inch and a half of sleet. It's trying to transition to snow, but you may hear it. It's still coming down. Just craziness. But could have been worse. It could have been a lot of ice, and it really, the sleet's kind of loose and it's a lot like snow, so it actually looks like it snowed out there. So let me tell you what I'm going to paint tonight. This is a 5x7 panel, and as you can see, there's a upside down eyeball on there. I did a couple of videos, real quick videos, where I showed how to paint an eye on these canvases. That one I think was a cat eye, and then I did a dog eye. Anyway, I couldn't put my bright acrylic paint over them because this is oil paint. Long time ago I did that, so it's very dry, but I couldn't tone it because I can't put acrylic on oil. You can put oil on acrylic, but not the other way around. So let me show you what I'm going to do tonight. I'll see if I can get you over here and angle you down. I have a still life set up. I have a jar of Jif and spoonful of peanut butter. So I don't know, I just felt like that's something I wanted to do. I never run out of things to paint. I mean, even if you're not real excited about it, it can be a good challenge, but this sounded fun to me. We'll see. My husband's giving me all kinds of ideas. Throw some crackers in there and all kinds of stuff. That didn't inspire me. What about a napkin? No, I'm not painting a napkin. So this is what I wanted to do, and we'll see how it works. So I would have liked to tone the canvas, and I could tone it. I could tone it now with some, oil paint, but I think we'll just go with this. We'll sketch it on with paint, and we'll, work on a bit of a value sketch before we start. So we'll mix up some ultramarine blue and some transparent red oxide, which is very dark. And we'll start with a little brush and our view catcher. I'm going to shock you one of these times and buy a new one. This is what this is. I love it. If you don't have one, go out and buy one. If you work from life at all, you need one for outside and for still lifes. So you set it for there are like 8x10. There are some measurements on here. There doesn't happen to be a 5x7. So I set it up for what I think looks like a 5x7, and I look through it. All right. I did put this up on a box with a spotlight on it and a screen behind it, and I'm standing. So then, of course, we're looking down on it somewhat. I could have sat down and looked dead onto it. I could have put in a bigger box over there and brought it up higher. That's just part of the decisions you make when you do a still life, which I like. That again, that makes it yours. I've said it before, but if you set this up for a group of people, everybody would come up with something different. Part of that based on where they stood, off to the side or dead on, but again, if you gave this jar of peanut butter and a spoon to a group of people and you said, set this up, they would set it up at different heights. They would put the light a different place. They'd place a spoon and jar a different way. You might balance a spoon on top of it. You could paint the same subject over and over and over and do so many things with it. All right, let's see. I'm planning on pretty much, I'm going to use the handle of my brush as I look out there through my view catcher like this to see placement. And then I can transfer that over to my canvas. That's what I do. That's pretty helpful. So the top of the jar is very close to there. The camera's always a little bit in my way here, but that's the way it is. The bottom's about there. Spoon's coming over pretty close to the edge. I may run the tip of the spoon off the corner. I haven't decided. If not, it's going to be very, very close. And if you put it in a frame, so the spoon's running across at that kind of an angle. Kind of looking at the width of it. Something like that. All right, we're just going to spend some time sketching it on. It looks like approximately that's the back of the lid and that's the front of the lid, which is something you can do to kind of help yourself. This is called an ellipse. I may give it a bigger brush. This brush is just getting so stiff to work with. Get a nice shadow coming out from the jar too. And as we sketch down the jar, usually what I do is I kind of look like what I see. I'm gonna get a different brush. This one's just, it's almost ready to pitch. I've been sketching with it for so long and I wore it down to quite the point. So we'll get one out that's a little, still a small brush. This is a Rosemary and Company. Those are my favorite brushes. Okay, anyway, we're going to take our time here. Again, going to do kind of a value sketch too. The lid's about that tall. I see about that much peanut butter before I hit the label. So use those things to help you sketch it on. And then I'll be wiping this back off because you know, the words are white, so, but I'm just getting this on for placement to help me get my proportions correct. There's no cheating, there's just whatever works for you. I remember painting a shirt months ago and somebody said something like, you just see art in everything. I do. I mean, I just think it's, like I said, when I was learning to paint, I just wanted to try everything. Okay, that comes to about there. Then there's a bit of red there, then blue, and we're about to the bottom of the label then. All right, then we come down, and that's about where we hit our spoon. I got a blob of peanut butter on there. I don't know if you could tell that when I showed it to you or not. I mentioned to you last time I was thinking about entering the Cincinnati Women's Art Club show. It's a nice juried show that they have every year, and I did enter it last night. And actually both the paintings I entered, I did do on this channel. Here, I'll show you what I entered. I entered that painting with the shoes. I called it Girls' Night Out. And I entered that painting with the sunflowers in the ball jar. I think I called that Ray of Sunshine, something like that. Try to make it a little more interesting than just sunflowers in a ball jar, which I've done a lot of that those kind of titles over the years. But so we'll see. It's not a cheap show. It's like, even if you're a member, it's $50 to enter. So, you know, you hope you get one in. I do complain about the fact that I have noticed over the years they tend to, I think they advise the judges to choose a variety of subject matter and mediums instead of, I just think it should be the very best of the work that's entered, period. That's how I feel, but people don't necessarily agree with me. you know, if it also happens to be all watercolor and that's the best work, that's what I think you should do. But what happens is, you know, I have gotten a couple years ago, I didn't enter last year because of the virus and everything. 2 years ago I did get in, and unfortunately the show ended up online, which is not as exciting. Then the year before that I did not get in, and I felt like they were pretty good paintings. And then what happens is you go to the opening, and then there's some really bad stuff there. Again, I think it's because, like, you'll see abstracts and mixed media pieces and just all kinds of things, and some of it's not great. So I gripe about it. I should voice my opinion to somebody, right? Instead of complaining or quit entering, right? I have entered shows where you're competing with photographers too, which to me is like apples and oranges, you know, because a lot of times we start with a photograph. But again, I don't have to do it, and if I'm going to complain about it, I probably shouldn't do it, right? All right, that'll go uphill. All right, now let's put a few values in here. This side of the lids. And again, I'm working with transparent colors here. This is ultramarine and transparent red oxide. So it's because they're transparent colors, you can push them around and lighten the value. So they're kind of nice, I think, to do a value sketch with. There's other colors you could use, of course. And I want to get in the darkest darks that I see. It's pretty dark there and under there. There's a shadow there. And hopefully we can make the peanut butter look like peanut butter. I did a really cute dog portrait one time where the dog had a jar of peanut butter in his mouth. They said that's his favorite toy. Well, I'm not surprised, you know. It probably smelled like peanut butter forever, the jar. But it ended up, yeah, it came out real cute. Okay, I'm going to get my little scraper in here and you know, actually the word GIF is white, so and sometimes when I do a label, I just suggest the words, I don't put them in, but I probably will be putting in GIF. I actually Googled it to see, and I saw a lot of paintings of GIF, and people painted the word in, so I'm going to do it. I guess they could probably sue you if they wanted for copyright. You know, it's someone's art. Okay. All right. We'll clean this brush. We might end up needing a smaller brush for some of that detail. All right, and you know, I've been lately starting with the lightest lightest color I see, which would be the word GIF. I can still hear that sleet hitting the window out there. Wow. Yep, we stayed in today. We'll probably be staying in tomorrow and maybe a few days. Saturday's supposed to be real cold. They canceled school. My daughter's a teacher. I was glad they canceled today. They've already canceled for tomorrow. I mean, we'll be working on this lettering again and again probably, but I'm kind of, as you can see, I'm putting it in there for now. Probably paint into it and out of it, back and forth till we get what we want. And making it a little darker as it goes around the jar. You know, this is the part that's catching the most light. The other letters get a little darker. Right now, but it may change because it goes back and forth for some reason, I am at 1,000 subscribers. I can't believe it. It's taken so long. But before I came on, I was. When you look at it now, it may change because it jumps up and down from day to day. I don't think it actually truly does. I just think it does on the channel, but I don't think in reality it's doing that. So anyway, as of right now, yay, we're 1,000. So if it stays there for a little while, we're going to do a giveaway. And what well, I'll decide. I'm not going to tell you now. All right, let's move on. All right, the lid is red. This is the brightest part right in here. This is red here. This is where it's catching the most light, and it's nice. It shoots across there. So that red we will keep. We'll use cad red light and some yellow. We'll keep it on the orangey side, nice and pure. As it transitions around, let's put a little crimson in some of it. And we might even, as it goes all the way around, get a little darker yet, maybe a little ultramarine. Okay. I'm going to switch to a brush that's a little bit bigger because I don't want to get real picky. All right, we're going to be thinking about brush work. You know, laying it on and trying to keep it clean. Would have been nice if I'd have got this toned, then any color underneath, you know, then we have color underneath, but we didn't do that, so we may have to come back and do a little more brush work to cover up. Now I'm getting into the red where I put a little more crimson. Now we're getting darker yet as it transitions away from the light. You have to let me know if you can hear that stuff hitting the window out there. Wow. I can hear it. Feel really fortunate though our electric didn't go out. Because we didn't end up with a lot of ice. I think that helped. We did end up with a lot of ice. We did not end up with a lot of freezing rain. You know, the stuff that will coat your lines and put your electric out. So, and I'm going to probably have to get a little brush out to get this really tiny little line here, which is really catching nice light. I could do it with a palette knife, or I could do it with a little brush. I could do it now, I could do it later. I'm going to probably stick it on, but who knows whether it'll stay there or not, right? Yeah, I missed my tone already, because there I am filling in a little. For me, I don't like white canvas showing. Some people, if you look really close at their paintings, they'll have a lot of white showing. I'd rather not. Tone just makes your life easier. Okay, let's mix up some peanut butter color. All right, what do we see there? And it again transitions from a lighter color to a darker color. We're going to start with some transparent red oxide. We'll put some white in it. See what that looks like. Look over there and see how that compares. I think it needs to be a little more yellow. I mean, you can actually, you know, mix it up and walk over there and compare it to your subject if you want. You know, really take your time and enjoy the process. All right. I actually probably, while I had the red on the brush, I think we'll go back and before I get into this peanut butter color, we'll put this red that I see here. You can see the advantage to having a tone on here. Just makes your life easier. And there's one more bit of red there, right across here. That's catching my eye. It needs to be over a little bit more. Okay, let's go back to our peanut butter. I think I'll wash the brush. All right, we'll go for our lightest part of the side first. Dip it into a little solvent. Doesn't this look fun? Makes you want to do peanut butter, doesn't it? I just like doing jars. I've done, you know, spaghetti sauce and all kinds of things. I just like jars. Now we're going for impressionism, so, you know, I don't want things to, I'm not going for photorealism, I never am. Let me get that up a little higher because it's actually right up against that red. There's a shadow down there. All right, let's look at the, might as well while we have working with these colors, look at our peanut butter on our spoon. Let's go for the lightest stuff we see first. Let me get a little solvent so it comes off of there. Hopefully it feels like peanut butter, I don't know, we'll see. As I squint and look for highlights, there's like one here, and of course some on the spoon because it's reflective, but not much else. That's about it, I think. And you could take a palette knife and load it on there, you know, that might be fun, and maybe we will do some of that, we'll see. You know, it's really early to be doing this, but like I say, you could take a palette knife and, you know, it might be fun to do that. All right, let's move on to the blue that I see on the jar, on the label. Very deep blue. We probably can pretty much get away with using straight ultramarine, probably. You know, we think so often we can't use tube colors, but if they work, why not? I mean, with a limited palette, I don't too often get to do that, you know. And then over in here, it transitions into green. And there's a yellow circle there. And the green's a pretty true green, you know, pretty primary green. So let's take ultramarine and cad yellow medium and see what that looks like. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try some lemon. And some ultramarine. That looks better to me. I'm going to have to work on the lettering some more. I'm not saying it's finished. Like I said, there's a yellow circle right here. Kind of make a space for that. I've got a really old Ritz can. Gosh, it was back in the 80s, I think. Ritz, when you bought Ritz crackers, you got this can to store them in. I don't know if you've ever even seen one. Tell me if you have, but we still use it. We still put our crackers in it, and yeah, we still use it. Could paint that, right? Yeah, I see one highlight there. Some little something there. You know, it depends on how picky you want to get. I mean, this obviously, there's little tiny lettering in there. I mean, you could, we'll see. We may remove it, but we'll take the palette knife, kind of suggest some, maybe some lettering. Nah, I'm not liking that. I don't think. It just depends on how detailed you want to get. It's your painting, so in this case it's mine, right? Yeah, so you know, we're going to have to get that shape right, and we will. I want that label to feel like it curves down. All right. I'm going to go back into these a little bit and clean them up a little bit. This is actually a circle. Like I said, just push and pull. Have you heard that? And this is actually different than I have it. More like that. I'm going to come back into the blue now and straighten that up a little bit. You know, I want it to look like a painting. I don't want it to look like, and obviously it does, and I don't want it to look like a photograph. All right, let's look at the spoon now. You know, and I can decide, you know, how much more I want. There's little ridges in the lid. And once we get the background in, we can clean up some of this, you know. This area here is kind of a shadow behind the spoon, which I don't feel is dark enough. All right, let's look at the spoon. This area behind the peanut butter is very dark. Okay. This is a shadow if you can't tell that. Okay. The spoon looks pretty dark. You know, I didn't do a lot to the spoon. I had the dark shape in, I put in the highlights, some blues, some highlights. All right, let's move on to the background. The only shadow, there's no shadow on the background. I don't have it pushed against the wall. There's a shadow, you know, here. So I'm just, I think, doing a warm gray for the background. All right, let's look at the shape as we do this. It tips in just a little bit. And again, this is where I wish I'd toned the background. Then you don't have to worry about covering it all, and actually, now that I brought that on down around the spoon, it only goes to about there, the background. Tempted to get a bigger brush yet. Let's get a bigger brush. Because I'd like to get more paint on the background. If I have a bigger brush, I probably will do that. All right. Looks like it ends about there. See, if I had my tone on, I wouldn't have to work it into the canvas like this either. I would probably do a lot more dry brushing where you drag it across. See, that would be fine if we had some color under there. We got to look at the shape of all this again. This may be too fat to get up in there. I might have to switch to a smaller brush. What better thing to do on a rainy night, right? Rainy, stormy. You have to let me know if you can hear that. All right, canvas is covered. Let's look around and see what changes we want to make. The shadow should be darker. The sketch that you make, you know, if you sketch with a darker paint, you know, I like leaving some of that. I think it can be interesting. See that line there as part of my sketch. All right, let's look at him. I'm always blinded when I use this palette knife. That ceiling light gets me. Whew. Hopefully you don't see that. That's a nice thing about oil paints is you can sculpt almost back into that, you know, to get that edge that you want. Just literally push it around. I'm going to try something, but we may not like it, so. Suggest a few of these ribs. I've got to clean that up. I took it down too far. The only way to prevent that is actually to wipe off the palette knife, so. Making sure this feels right. One advantage to working on the white canvas is if you wanted to like scratch into this blue. Let's see, no, it's not going to work. But I have like done pet commissions and scratched all the way through and scratched the whiskers in. I'm back into this yellow again. We're trying this. You know, just try stuff. If it doesn't work, you just take it out. Oh, I can't see for the reflection hardly. Yeah, we were supposed to be all snow by now, but I can hear it coming down, so it's obviously still ice. Winter is here. I'm ready for spring. Just want to make sure things feel correct, even though we're trying to be painterly, you know. All right, let's get a little bit of a really dark edge under that to ground it. We'll try a palette knife. Okay. Just looking around to see where else I need to make adjustments. I'm feeling like that needs to come up a little bit. Mixed up a color that's orangey but lighter. I thought it might be fun to throw a little bit of it into the lighter areas of the peanut butter. All right, what do we think? Oops, I lost my highlight on my peanut butter. Let's put that back. Oh, no, I guess it's still there, isn't it? I just don't see it very well. And we'll try to sign it, but I'm kind of particular about that, and if it doesn't go nicely, then we'll wipe it out, and I'll do it after it sets up some. Now, where to sign it? For me, it's always the right or the left corner. It dictates what the painting is. I have the spoon down in this corner. I mean, I could run it along the spoon. I typically don't do that kind of thing. But I let the painting kind of tell me. And I keep it far enough from the edge so you don't hide it with a frame. Think about that. And again, this will get wiped off if I'm not happy with it. But I keep it small. I have a little brush, and again, keep it far enough away from the edge. And I may have to do this when I'm not standing up and reaching over you, because I want it to be really nice. So. And it's really wet. Yeah, we're going to redo it, but that would be approximately the area I would do it. But I'm going to let it set up a little while. I've seen all kinds of things over the years. Some people sign really large. I think it matters. I was going to show you, here, I'll take you over here and show you, like the sunflowers in the jar. Can you see where I signed it? Down in the corner, in the right corner. But that's where I tend to sign. A lot of times if I have a choice, it's usually the right corner. Can you see it down there? But there's that barn painting that they ended up using on the postcard. You've seen that, I think, before. But, yep. Lots and lots of art. So here it is. I think it's fun and it's painterly. May not be completely done. I have to look at it some more. But it's pretty juicy and yeah, I had fun doing that. Took about an hour. Again, that's a 5x7. And thank you so much for joining me. Hope you stay safe where you are if you're experiencing this terrible weather. And like and subscribe if you haven't, please. All right. Thanks again. Watch for me next time. Good night.